I've been a little about how it's, I think the whole event is where we start at looking from what we're not, and sooner or later another target comes up, which is what we are. Yeah, but we look at it as a mystical what we are, that we can we wouldn't want it to happen quickly. We can slowly transform it from what we're not into what we are. All the while, the story would be about what you're not most of the time. And then maybe when you finally arrive there, you'd experience your own absence. Yeah, and then what you're not would dominate it. Yeah, you may have a hit. The hit will occur. You'll see the reflection of the lion, the young and the old lion in the water hole. You can't stay at the water hole hovering over the water for that long. Walking away from the water hole, the mental state starts narrating the event as a spiritual experience a sheep had. And so you just lion experience as the sheep. So that recognition, which was instant, because it doesn't take any time to be what you are. You can't see what you are, but what you are. It doesn't take any time. But what happens when time kicks in, the mental program will kick in and it will claim whatever happened to imply it happened to the sheep program. So now the sheep has been inflamed and inspired by it seeing that it could be a lion. Yeah, it could become a lion if it worked hard enough. Stayed hung out the right sheep, started buying some lion pictures, did some prayers, roaring classes. It will take a while, but it can basically become like a lion. That's not the message. The message is you're not a sheep. Yeah. So when you're identified as a sheep, hearing you're not a sheep doesn't really work. You've got to break it down how we seem to arrive at where we've never been as a sheep. We seem to arrive as a sheep. Yeah. We've got to question that, because if you keep questioning the idea of lion, sheep, it just reinforces the sheepness. That's what happens. You can't get out of that little conundrum. Yeah. Because all the emphasis will still be on the sheep. Yeah. So what happens is, so then, all right, you tell the sheep, hey, you got to lose interest in the sheep. And so the sheep tries to lose interest in the sheep. That's interest in, yeah, you can't get out that way either. So basically, hopefully get left with your own choices. And if no one offers you another skillful means of this and that, there, seeing the grasping and nothing to grasp at, maybe it hits you that, you know, these things that you call your devices, understanding, intellectual inquiry, all this shit, doing yourself a condition, all of those things, you'll see they're not yours. Yeah. And there's a freedom that lies there. It's always been this way. So basically, the solution is only necessary if the problem, when the solution occurs, it tells you there's a problem. Yeah? When you finally arrive, like that old statement in the yoga thing, when you finally arrive, you realized it was based on having left. Yes? When you finally arrive, it's based on having never left. You never left. There was no need to swim to the other shore. Yeah. But if you want to swim to the other shore, fine, because wherever you arrive, there it is. Because you're not going to find it, you are it. Yeah, with all the shenanigans and activities and all the hocus pocus with time and everything, it doesn't change the fact. Yeah, nothing does. Yeah, nothing can. So that's really the great assurance that sets in when you're convinced that nothing, absolutely nothing that ever happens changes the fact of what we are. Yeah, there's a, you know, it's like when you're having a dream at night and there's a tiger attacking you, you scared shit of the tiger. When you wake up, you realize the tiger wasn't real. Are you scared shit of the tiger? No. Yeah. You weren't scared shit of the tiger. It was that was given to the tiger that caused this being scared shit. Yes. What happens when that reality is removed? You're not scared shit. So what would happen if you had a sense that nothing's ever happened? You travel lighter through all the little happenings. Yeah. It would bring a sense of ease and comfort, not produced by, let's say, calisthenics or something like that, but basic on a clear understanding that nothing's ever happened. Seriously, tons of shit happens, but nothing ever happens. Yeah. Just like every day gets erased, like an etch-a-sketch. Yeah. There's a lot of shit that happens on Friday, but right now it doesn't seem like any shit happened, does it? Because now there's more stuff happening and it's called Saturday. Where's the difference from now, the shit happening now to the shit happening then? Nothing. Yeah. There's nothing different of it. Yeah. So the message is, someone shared another thing we did on Tuesday. They said, you're telling us not to effort? I said, no, I'm not telling you not to effort. I'm telling you the futility of it. That's what I'm sharing. Yeah, I'm not saying don't effort or not, because maybe you're not going to hear the futility of effort. Maybe you're going to have to experience the futility of effort. Yeah, but the whole point we're pointing at, there's a futility in effort because there's a dynamic there. There's a dynamic doing something to arrive somewhere else as the same. Yeah, that's the futility of it. Yeah, so it's not like you telling me not to. I'm not saying shit. You do whatever you like. Maybe a sense of what actually is happening while you do anything you like. There are some dynamics that may not be obvious. They don't seem to be because most people keep running into them. So one of them is captured in recovery by the statement, self can't get out of self. The sense of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. That's of all the doing, the thinker of all the thoughts, the feeling, the feeler of all the feelings. Yeah, that accumulation of claiming and owning stuff that we have nothing to do with, really. Yeah, that isn't going to get out of that. Yeah, that self isn't going to get out of self because it would just self. Yeah, yeah. If self gets out of self, that's being in self. That's the problem. The problem is people think, or they truly believe they can get out of self as self. So a lot of people were doing that in recovery, and they came to a conclusion. I don't know how they did, but they put out a thing that's not in the books. It's not engraved in stone, but it's in a lot of the communities, and the community I came from, San Francisco, and it was self can't get out of self. So what the hell is that? Self can't get out of self. I don't see that because I'm seeing one of those aspects of self I'm calling Paul. And to Paul, AKA self, it totally makes sense that it can get out of self, or at least fucking die trying. That's its drive, yeah. So don't mess with Paul trying to get out of self, but it isn't Paul, it's self trying to get out of self, because Paul, unbeknownst to Paul, is like the emblem of the act of being identified as self. Yeah, there's an act of being identified as a long-lasting, independent, separate thing that has the attributes of the subject. So, you know, as Hawaiian Poe would say so clearly, whatever can be perceived, cannot be perceiving. There you go. Okay, so sit with that for a second. Now bring it to what's in one's head. And don't get into all the, intricate exotic dance steps. Just look at the dance floor. And the dance floor is basically premised on that which can be perceived is what's perceived. The whole narrative that we're hearing all day, and no one seems to, they don't remember when they subscribe to it. It just seems to a saddle, like a mental saddle that they're under. If you see the basis of it is there's a subject experience. I'll give you that. Yeah. But what's having it is an object. Yeah. So there is a seeing, but I think it's the seer doing it, which is an object. Yeah. They're seeing, it's undisputed. I mean, yeah, they're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. There doesn't seem to be really a beginning of seeing, because even when your eyes close, there's an onness, right? The lids, like the car's running, the garage door may be closed, but the car's running. Yeah. So there's, you didn't sense it, right? While you're sitting there. It's just immediately. It isn't like this opens and then suddenly something appears. It's like the whole world in a nanosecond. So it's there, seeing, yes? The seeing is there. So then the mental state actually slips in this little idea that you're the seer. Yeah, it's trippy. It claims the seeing, and it says the seeing is verifying this incredible fact that I don't know how I came to, but I'm so sure of it, that there's a seer. Yeah. Because there couldn't be seeing without a seer. Remember, we're in a dualistic event, and the logic that's only in, or is actually how the dualistic event gets manufactured or projected, yeah, is that dualistic event, yeah. So it can't see a verb without looking for a noun. It's impossible. It just will beat it. So if I didn't do it and you fucking didn't do it, God did it, or some other creature or being that I could see probably if I was good enough. I got to meet God when I go to heaven. I'm going to see him like Ben Cartwright on the roadside. I don't know what but you're gonna probably frame it as a body. So this seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching is the base. It's the basic activity. Yeah, it's the ignition of the whole seeing, dream, to speak. And then in time, because the seeing is happening, it's not a product of time, really. There's seeing. There's awareness, let's say. And then there's awareness used to look, that's in time, but the awareness isn't. So that's the basis of it. And then there's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. And then in time, the seeing is claimed to a seer. So it goes, here it is. I become first aware of the day through seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. Yes. Okay. And then there's an act, a mental activity that maybe I once saw, but I haven't been seeing it lately. I look from it most of the time. So that claims the seeing to imply the seer. And then the interest and attention, it's sort of like your interest and attention is going full bore to the seeing, gets diverted to the seer. Yeah. And so now, here you are, the event of consciousness, and you seem to be unconscious, which is insane, yeah, because you're not starting at the point of consciousness, you're starting at a mental point, yeah? And for the mental point to seem to be a big enough, big point, it has to sort of be in the act of denying the original point, yeah, of contact, which is consciousness is in contact. Now, the story is Paul's in contact, yeah? Paul's doing, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. So something happened from the consciousness in contact to Paul's in contact. Yeah, it took a little time, and what occurs is then a narration or an interpretive, like stenography, happens, and now you're informed about what's going on. Really, at the pulse of what's going on, you're pretty much out to lunch, basically, and then you wait for the great oracle to tell you, how am I doing today? Or did I have a good day or not a good day? I have no fucking idea. Sort of like neutral. No, you had a bad day. Okay. No, I have no sense of any any intimacy with the day, so okay, I'll buy it. And then it starts feeding you a storyline that really basically takes the place of, you know, response. It's now a formulated reaction from the past, about the past, yeah, pasted onto a present, projected to be a future condition. Yeah, it's like Hal in 2001, but in this case, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. After a while, you're calling yourself Hal. Basically. Where's the Hal? Right? The non-duality to me, and of course, me, but it's pointing out something. It's been an incredible answer, really, because it just keeps on giving. Nothing is the gift that keeps on giving. Because mostly what's necessary is to see the misunderstandings. You don't really need an understanding. You just need a misunderstanding. Because that which defines you and separates you and keeps you in a certain way, it's almost like flooring or walling. If you could take a couple planks away, you would be able to, you wouldn't need an understanding what it's like to see it. Yeah, as Zen would say, you would see blue is blue, red is red. You wouldn't have to have a giant thesis about red. You would see it, it would be clear. Yeah, but you're trying to understand something, not being able to see it. Yeah, you got a wall that's manufactured and it has a story, and whatever way you look, you don't see any way out. That old thing in psychology, because there's three walls and you play the role of the fourth wall. So you don't see any way out. You're the empty, but you're taking yourself to another wall. So you're caught in this little mental room. Yeah. So basically, you got to live by hearsay. How's it going? It sucks. It's just as good as anything. All right. So this, I remember when I met girls when I was younger. If a girl liked me, I thought I was supposed to like her. You know, that was it. Well, Rita, okay. I don't know. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't have any seeming unmanufactured, uninterpreted feelings. They were all pretty much processed, like processed food. They had been processed by the time I looked at it. So that beautiful fish that someone caught, I got it in Mrs. Paul's fish cakes, if you know, from back east. They were just full of breading and just a very little bit of fish. They were Mrs. Paul's fish sticks. My mother used to give them to me quite a lot. It was just 98% breading and then about a percent of fish and maybe a percent of I don't know what, that would be it. So it'd be this long, you get to about 4 pieces of fillet in the middle. So, but your story was you just had some fish. I got it. Now the amount of fish was based on Mrs. Paul's fish sticks, which wasn't much fish. But you had a story. I'm having a fish. I got fish today. Yeah, experienced tons of shit. I feel so alive. Now I've got videos to show you. I had this experience once. I try to use it a lot. We were in a place in Burma, 95. Very strange place. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Yeah, it's a big arid plain next to the big river of Burma, which is the Youre. Yeah, this huge thing. Hey, bro, another guest appearance. So there's this huge plain, and these crazy civilization from the 900s to the 1200s. All they did was build Buddhist temples. So there's 5, and they had 1 Hindu temple because they captured from the south, who brought him Buddhism. He was a Hindu king, so he had to work every day, but he had his own Hindu temple. That was it. Everything else was Buddha for 300 years. So you thousands of temples, different spires and everything. It's incredible. At night, you would go to a stupa, you know, a big, supposedly a relic of the Buddha, a big stupa, and you'd sit on there and you'd watch the sun, and you could see all the spires. It was pretty magnificent. So we'd ride the bikes, these dirt roads, go there, and we were sitting there. And then there was this big cloud from far away, and it was moving, you know, through this arid plain, going by. And you saw it was a huge, and it was a bus of tourists, yeah, from, I think from Japan, up to the temple, yeah. They all get out, and we're sitting there on you know, 20 feet high on this, like, rocks. They come walking up to us, all of them. They turn around to the bus driver. He has a camera. He takes a picture. They all get back in the bus, and they drive away. Now, they had a picture saying they were at this temple, but were they really at this temple? Yeah. There's the evidence. I was at the spot. Really, they didn't stop. They didn't go in. It was like 1 second, stop, and got into the bus again. Yeah. So sort of the interpretation obviously needs a lot to be desired. Yeah, it's actually pretty freaking empty on a lot of cases. Yeah, and then you run into Buddha 1 about things that are not real, that don't last, are not satisfying, and so on and so forth. And they talk about what's causing all this desire, and the desire to become and unbecome, and all this stuff. Yeah, but basically, there's some holes in it. Your life, you've done everything everyone's told you to do, and you're still feeling a little or a lot empty. Yeah, basically because we've got all the cereal boxes, but there's no fucking food in them. Yeah, we got the perfect kitchen look. We got Kellogg's and everyone, but there's nothing in there. We're not getting any fucking nutrition, basically, because we're living in interpretation, unfortunately. And for many of us, it produces an irritability, restlessness, and discontent. And then we seek a solution, but we seek a solution not from it. Yeah, this is the big dilemma. Because there's an act of identified as the character of the narration to a point where we seemingly, it's appearing to us that we have forgotten what we are. Yeah, we have taken something to be ourselves. This is the fundamental engine of the dreaming, because the only thing that could make something real, make something look real, is reality, which is us. Yeah. There's no illusion, and the only illusion that could fool reality is if reality was in cahoots with it. So reality must be at a point where it's taken to be something that allows that something to seem to be dominant. Yeah. And while that something seems to be dominant, the reality has to seem not to be too dominant. Almost completely forgotten. Yeah. To the point, we have no idea that we're it, that we may start looking for. We may set off on a course to find what we are with what we are. So when the person says, you know, the way I hear it is you're telling me give up effort, I'm saying no. We're just pointing out the futility of effort with this unseen dynamic. Yeah. If it's you, that's out of you, that's more of you. Yeah. If clarity is I'm not that, and then you realize you'll lose interest in getting out of it because you realize you were never in it. Yeah. Like around his wonderful statement, he said it different ways. There's this presupposing, which pre is obviously means time. Yes. So something before. So the supposing occurs now, but it presupposes something before. So what is being supposed or implied or insinuated is that there's a non-existent thing that's existing. Yeah. So this, if there wasn't, let's say you want to call it spirit or life in this body could be completely intact. Every organ and eye and everything would work. But if there ain't that light in it, it ain't going anywhere. It's not seeing shit. The eyes are perfect, but they're not what's seeing, obviously. There needs to be an animating principle. Animating principle seems to actually be able to leave, yeah, and basically leave and leave the body behind, yeah. So if something is abandoned and there's something else, then you must be that something else, in a way. It's just like when we were out running around in San Francisco, crazy, we'd have an old beater of a car and we'd be up on Castro Market and we'd run into a tree and then we'd just abandon the car. We just walk away. It was like $50. And back then they didn't have all the, records, and there'd be no fucking problem. They wouldn't know whose car it was. But I abandon it because I'm not that. I can abandon something that I'm not, yes? So this whole idea is there's an abandonment of self, seeing that self is not you. How does the abandonment look? It looks like a loss of interest in what? Self, yeah? Not self losing interest in self, but a loss of interest in self. So completely different. Tries to lose interest in self, of interest in self. There's a loss of interest in self happening. Yeah, no effort or thought on your part. You just start losing interest. You notice it. Yeah, and you start expressing maybe a traveling lighter that you attempted to be a virtuoso at and never succeeded. Now you're doing it without much effort or thought. Yeah, you're just walking around and you're seeing blue is blue and red is red. Something is clear. And there's a convincing where there's no debate or any, you're not waiting for the hidden final chapter. It's all done. Yeah. You can't get out of what you're not in. You can't escape from an imaginary event. Yeah. And so, like for me, my whole life, since I was 6, I've been trying to get out of here, really. And I tried a lot of different rocket ships, different vehicles. And I was convinced that wasn't going to be successful. Now, I didn't know why. And I thought, then the self-centeredness had a field day because I was blamed for having the inability to complete the mission of getting out of here. But then I realized I can't get out of an imaginary place. It's just that freaking simple. Yeah. So a peace came over, this underlying agitation of always wanting to get out, through drugs or spirituality or whatever. Now that just got muted, turned down, turned off. That's done. Other sound. In alignment with that sound, lost interest, those things got muted. And it allowed, to describe it would be a second to second event, yeah? The feeling of whatever, the feeling of not being motivated, not being totally driven by some mental agitation, yeah? Like, oh yeah, this is pretty good, but it could be better. No, this is fucking great. So let's be cool. This, you know what I mean? And then you get a real flavor, like almost having the word enough on a nice slow burning rotisserie. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty healthy. Yeah. And now my head still wants more, but in the areas that it's allowed to do that is like thrift storing, it's not fucking bringing about a utopia. So this message, the understanding of it, and if it hits you, because the light of an understanding is really the essence of understanding, a light, yeah? A little spark goes off, and it the stark contrast to misunderstandings that we seem to have been living on. Thank God it's not us. So you see the structure that the idea of Paul is like an emblem of, and you see the house of cards, yeah? And it doesn't mean the house of cards has to go down or not, because it's not even truly erected, yes? Yeah. So it's not like I'm blow down every house of cards. No, you just fucking see a house of cards. It's like the glove in the hand. The hand doesn't have any the glove. It's when it's taken itself to be a glove. Yeah. Yeah, that's the dilemma. So if you have the hand, because the hand could find itself in a glove, it doesn't mean that I'm a glove. Yeah. Once it gets a sense that of its complete outness from a glove, meaning I'm not a glove, being in the glove doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't mean anything. Where most people, when they share stuff, as soon as their head gets agitated, they think they're agitated. Yeah. And so, oh, I went crazy. I say, no, not go crazy. Head went crazy yesterday. Yeah. But there's still a lazy identification with every movement implying I made the move. Yeah? Almost, and most of it that I did it like volitionally for some reason. I went this way, that way. And then it comes with a nice bonanza of guilt and shame based on who the fuck would leave peace, But I did. No, the head, the fireworks just sort of like, they got a sexy tail. They catch the attention as they're going off. You're following them like this. And then the story is, oh, I was totally spaced out yesterday. No, you weren't. You may have been totally spaced out, but you weren't. Yeah. Isn't that great news? I can't believe how far off the beam I was. No, you weren't that far off the beam. You are the beam. But wouldn't it take all the drama and meaning of tons of fucking things? It has, those game boards where they have the card, go to jail, whatever, all these cards the head plays, and you're taking it to be, oh, this is, you see through it. There's a freedom from it. Yeah. I do not believe when my head is agitated that I'm agitated. I don't. I do not believe when there's a resentment, I see something as a threat that isn't one. I don't call it my resentment. I don't see it that way. I see it as a resentment based on a peculiar way of looking. And that way of looking isn't my way of looking. It's the Toyota drives like that. I'm in the Toyota, but don't fucking blame me. I don't drive like the Toyota. I'm in the Toyota, but I'm not the Toyota. Yeah. So Toyota, I'm in the car. I'm accountable. Take care of it, but you're not going to pin it on me. You fucking did it. Like the old with the dog shitting on the neighbor's lawn. Yeah. And the neighbor calls me up and, all right, I'm sorry. I'll come right over and clean it up. And I make an amends. I say, I'm not going to let it walk by your house again. I'm going to take it down another street. Yeah. And I'm very clear. Yeah, I'm accountable because it's seen as my dog. But I'm not responsible. I did not take that shit on the neighbor's lawn. And I'm probably not going to have guilt about doing that because I didn't do it. It was the dog. Yeah. Now, everybody sees the dog as some aspect of me, an appendage of me, whatever. But yeah, I don't. So, all right, I'll clean up the mess. Sorry, bro. I'm going to try to walk the other way, but I don't go home. Why did I shit on the lawn? I shouldn't have shit on the lawn. Do I need help? No, it's the dog. Why not have some clarity as a basis instead of having a confusing basis looking for clarity? Why not have a clarity about that and you won't be looking for clarity? You won't. There's plenty of it. You'll be clear about what you need to be clear of. It may not be how the stock market's doing. It may be, but I mean the basis of what's happening here. There's thoughts. Are you the thinker of them? There's feelings, tons of them, sensations. Are you truly the one that has felt every one of them and in some way actually did the feeling? Like you're the one, you shouldn't have felt like that. Really? Give me a break. It's like it's a really outlandish stretch. Yeah, and I've had in this experience called Paul, I've had almost infinite amount of experiences taken over by something much greater than whatever I am as this, and doing shit that I would never have even come up with in my wildest dreams while under the influence of alcohol and drugs. And I did some unbelievable stuff that I could have thought for 30 hours. The misunderstandings will be brought out of the weeds and you'll see them. Not from them, but from awareness, yeah? A clear seeing of all that shit that goes on to imply that you're something you're not, yeah? And then you recognize it. It doesn't mean it stops, it continues, but obviously without us as fuel, it can't go as far as it used to. It can't do what it used to be able to do. It can't make tattooed lasting impressions as it used to. And basically, just like if there was a square on the zoom, instead of dominating the whole zoom, its square would shrink more and more, and more you'd see the space of the square, yeah? With this little bit caught up in that, instead of having this take the whole space up and all you see is this, the story of Paul, you would see the story of a Paul, just like I see a story of a Dylan, yeah, and it would be there, and yet the overwhelming weight would be about the space, yeah, and that space brings a lot of lightness to the heaviness of the story or the movie, yeah, really. You're not going to find it in the movie. The lightness is in the screen, yeah. If you lose interest in the movie, you'll gain interest in the screen, so to speak, yeah. And you'll be able to, because let's say if you have one movie and you're aligned to it, you're not going to be happy with a romantic comedy, you know? You're fucking, there's going to be a lot of, you're going to want it to be, and life's not that way. You're not like, you know, 24 hours, Jennifer Aniston. A lot of shit happens, hospital movies, fucking going cross country movies, tons of different movies, yeah. The screen is the flexibility, yeah, I feel. So, yeah, any questions here or just through the Zoom?
I'm just feeling ready to hear and see is it that you can't seek the Buddha with the Buddha?
Yes.
So what part of that is
You
problematic? Seek finding or what is the whole concept? Or?
Well, the thing is using the Buddha to seek the Buddha. So how do you use the Buddha to seek the Buddha? It's called Nor,
Right.
or Paul. That's how there's a using of the Buddha, aka Paul, to seek the Buddha. Yeah. This isn't about stopping the stuff like that, just seeing it. Just let it, does it fit? Wow, that's a pretty apt description. When I had this thing occur, many whatever things, I saw that's exactly what had been happening most of my life since 6 on. I was basically using what I am to try to get out of what I'm not. Yes? Yeah. But as what I'm not. Yeah. That was the dilemma. So it's not the seeking, it's not the Buddha, it's that using the Buddha, aka Nor, to seek the Buddha isn't going to work. Yeah, because what's happening, obviously, the seeking of the Buddha with that dynamic in play, seek is reinforcing Nor. Yeah, that's what its point, that's its point. It's not the seeking and it's not the object of the seeking, it's the constant reflecting back to the false subject as the seeker, yeah, which is Nor. So obviously, the whole movement of seeking the Buddha is to reinforce Nor. There's no real wish to find the Buddha. So maybe lifetimes of seeking the Buddha, because there's no intention in that mind to find the Buddha. It's very happy find. The deal was, what can become the Buddha, it would sign up with that. Because, but if Nor being the Buddha right now with no requirement on Nor's view, none of that, that's not a, Nor's not into that deal. Yeah, give me a lifetime of becoming the Buddha, great. I'll start as Nor, and I hope it gets to it. In fact, all it will be is about Nor. Yeah. So this is the point. So the thing in recovery, self can't get out of self. It's so prevalent as an activity because one aspect of the self is seen as Paul. And to the logic of Paul, its whole logic is the possibility of getting out of self. It's one of its most heartfelt desires or drives is to try to get out of self, but as Paul, aka self. So therefore, attempting to get out of self as self does what? It reinforces you're in self. Yes. And if you're not in self, that's the dilemma. That's the conundrum. Yeah. So you're wanting out, you're not in, gives a reality to your idea of being in that it doesn't really rightly deserve. You have given it reality. I just want to get out of this, fucking do anything. You've made that in damn real. You as reality, unbeknownst to Nor, because you're not Nor. You're reality dreaming. So if reality wants to dream an in as being a super in, it will. Yeah. And then reality as the dreamt may want to spend a lifetime of trying to get out of it. And then down the road of this, there may be a memory. Yeah. You can't get out of what you're not in. Has anyone ever looked at that? I remember we shared it last week. I did this process and they were very good at inducing cathartic events. And I had many of them every day for 8 days. And one of them was the clincher. I was crying and I was laughing and I was just kept saying, never get back. I back like I left God or whatever. You know what I mean? Huge. I can never get back, and I'm pouring, and everyone was so in agreement with me. They almost stopped the event. Oh, look, the noble journey. I can never get back. And then a few weeks later, after all the glorification of it, after a few weeks later, I realized why I can never get back, because I never left. The whole story seems so drenched in great drama. Oh, I can never get, but I want to get back so much, but I can never. I do anything, but I had never left. I can't write a blog about that, write a book about that, on having never left, end of story. Wait a minute, I like to see the boat, I want to see it go. No, there's no journey. Wow, that sucks. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Awakening. And then of relevance and being special is shown without any clothes. You see the emperor without clothes, you do, because you're not gazing along with it, you see it, man, and it's, man, it's worth more than 1,000 words. You just see that desire sticking out. Nothing has to change, and everything changes, yeah. And then there's no, oh, when that happens, this and this and this happens. No, it can look any way it wants when this happens, because it's always happening. So it can do whatever it freaking wants. That's why I don't believe you can make a formalized dance. That if you learn these steps, yes, I just don't believe it, because I feel like there used to be an old story about a saint who was a pretty strange character, and the people that were with him wanted, felt he really had something, so they felt that what he did was how he got what he had, so they tried to mimic his crazy behavior, and they ended up going to jail and drunk and shit like that. But they didn't see that it was where he was expressing through that way. There's no way for that to express, it's any way for that to express. You can do whatever it freaking wants, yeah? So to try to reverse engineer and make someone's expression a path, I don't see as a wise move, yes? So you just let it, there it is, it hits, and then you're in a position, now you don't know, so you find out. You observe, and expressions keep occurring, and then you come to some realizations, and hopefully, I believe everyone, not as a person, but as what we are, has the ability to reach being convinced. And when you're convinced, and it's a whole different, how you travel is completely different. Yeah, there's that current of resistance or grind stops. You're just clear, and some of the stuff doesn't ever come back up. There's no debating it every 6 months, because nothing has changed. Nothing. The invitation is exactly, stop looking for what you are, start seeing what you're not, basically. The negative way. The positive way is you being affirmed in your process. The negative way is negating that which desires affirmation. It negates that you're you, yeah, and then live with it. Yeah. See what happens. And yeah, maybe the name on the tree isn't as good as the fruit. You'll just enjoy the fruit, and there'll be almost like a forced humility. You lose interest, whatever, being a banner or a poster person for anything. You just, it's been put to the test. I've talked thousands of times, and the reason why they've all happened is I never showed up, really, never. It was very clear early on, I was in recovery, I would be being used at this group in the city, sharing to a lot of people. A lot of those Monday nights, I felt fucking terrible, physically, sinus infections, my pharmacist had just broken up with me, all these things that my head would say disqualify you from being a hose, great water. It didn't matter what the condition of the hose was. The water wanted to come through, yeah? nothing, it wasn't the chosen hose. It was just a hose. And I, after 16 years of it, a lot of that stuff got clear that this has nothing to do with Paul. Paul is the hose, and the water chooses to come through whatever it does. Now, Paul, at the beginning, I should clean up the hose, for this incredible water. It puts a lot of responsibility on me as being an open hose. No, it said just read Yankee blogs and fucking don't do shit. That was the indication. And just come as you are, because you're not that fucking important, really. He's going to come through no matter what. Just show up. That's all. Go to the meeting, and then there you go. So, yeah, after 30 years of it, it's, when are you going to be convinced sooner or later that something is doing through us what we couldn't do by ourselves? And I don't call it a something. Yeah. So, you want to open the Zoom? Anyone else? You guys all right, Nora? You got that?
Yeah, too. And Lucky is.
Who?
Lucky.
Oh, Andrew. All right. I can't see you, but go ahead.
Hi, Paul. Can you see me?
I see him now.
Yeah, I want to ask. I'm in.
He's Mike. Give him voice, Mike.
Can you hear me?
All right. Yes.
Hi, mate. It's good to listen to you. I'm in recovery myself. Obviously, it's not about recovery tonight, but with this non-dual, did you go through a meditation practice to experience it? Did you have to sit with yourself and do a sort of certain type of meditation practice, or did you actually? How did you come about?
No. But I in the beginning I used, well, of course there's no I, whatever. Self-inquiry, the act of, basically asking self, who am I? I did that for a while, yes. And even that isn't meant to be seen as a form or a practice. It's meant to ask this, that you're not who it is, because when it gets stopped, there you are, yeah? Because Ram's idea that everything happening here would lead back to what's actually happening. So let's just use self as the thief, and self as the policeman. So the policeman goes, who am I? The thief answers, me. The policeman asks, who am I? The thing goes, and then suddenly when the thief goes, oh, see, being the exact same activity, the policeman, suddenly something's going on. Yeah. They're not, but something still is. So then you realize it's sort of like, let's say, I can't go there now, but yes, so this, who am I? And then the answer from the head is, well, who is this me? And you stay with it till it runs into nothing, it stops. And then you get a sense why there's no answer, because you are the answer. Yeah, so you are that space without a thing in it, seeming. Yes, yeah. So yeah, I did that. And when I met this guy, Ramesh Balsekar in India, his main target was personal doership. So I went to one of his talks, and I went back to the place I was staying at, and he had told us, take an incident of the day where you thought you had a lot to do with it, and then break it, right? So how did you get into that room? Well, someone had a door, and go on. And then you see the nonchalant, lazy habit of taking ourselves to be a doer. If you looked at one event, with an inquiring mind, you would see through it, And I could tell by the resistance my head was having doing that, sitting there in the house, that it had to have some value, because my head was really, because And I noticed it in the first few years of sharing, when the people would get the most agitated is when you started questioning personal doership. Because the basis of the whole story is, if this isn't my life, whose life would it be anyway? And how I see it as my life is I'm the doer of it, yeah? And yet, it doesn't take much for the house of cards to collapse, really, does it? Now, it will show itself to be wholly built again, but in fact, you've seen its true condition, which it has nothing to stand on, yeah? But that house of cards will keep appearing. No matter how many times they get blown down, the next second you'll see the house of cards up, yeah? Because that's the dreaming. They don't have to be blown down. You just see them as a house of cards. And you see the one linchpin or the cornerstone or the, what do they call it in AA, the flagstone, that everything else, the keystone, that everything depends on is the Joker card, which is us, yeah, which is us as Paul. Truly. So, yeah, so that's, but then after that, I did more listening to people. I went to live satsangs. I didn't ask anything. And then during that period, it was clear that, like, it was like an unspoken yes. I felt like knowledge before knowledge. And that got established, yeah. It didn't come and go like a lot of other things. Certain things really landed, and then they became new cornerstones, really. And then the more entertaining the ideas, the less stuff was needed. I'm not saying that's the case for anyone. It can look anyway, but in my case, it was more disarming than a call to, yeah. The more the message landed, the more I saw the futility of the action figure, so to speak. Not as the action figure, that would be a really bummed out event for the action figure, but I saw the action figure from somewhere else, and it was hallelujah, really. Yeah. So I felt like I was like an urban renewal project. After I got good from the drug addiction, I definitely, then the new target was perfection, and I was really working hard and constantly working on myself. And then one day, that urban renewal project was canceled. The funds went somewhere else, and there you go. It's like the buildings in India. For some weird tax thing, they don't build the whole thing. They're only like 80% done, and then there's a whole side of it and then you see tons of them. For some reason, if they complete it, it's worse or something. I don't know. So yeah. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether it was through meditation.
I would come talks if you can. It doesn't have to be hours, but I definitely think I would suggest that. But yeah, just sit in satsang. It's got a certain energy, and that energy will sort of become in some manner, yeah? And then if you need to do something, you'll do it. It doesn't mean you're gonna do it the rest of your life. You'll do it, and then you're told, hey, stop, and then you can stop, and then something else may come up, yeah. But I had a way of life already with recovery, yes?
Yeah, I've been in recovery 6 years. And
I have a way of life for the action figure. I wasn't need a way of life. Yeah, I have principles that are sound. I have support, opportunities to be of service, all that would be necessary to keep the action figure somewhat well balanced. I have already in recovery. Yeah. What I didn't know was the exact nature of the wrongs, which is the act of being identified as self or as the doer and the thinker, the feeler and stuff. That came through non-duality, which really illuminated the program, but the results of the program got incredibly illuminated and enlarged, yeah, with that understanding, yes. Yeah.
I think that with recovery, the suffering part of recovery, even without taking a drug or drink, is that attachment with the thoughts that you are that, or whatever event happens in your life, when a thought attaches to you, you treat it as it's your feeling and emotion or whatever, and that's the difficulty I have in recovery. I still
all right, but see. Let me say something. That doesn't have to change. You see you're not that. That activity you're describing, yeah? That activity you're describing has already been claimed by the activity. So basically, you don't go into trying to dissect and change that. You just see you're not, yeah, you're not that, who's having hard times with thoughts, yes? In other words, the shadow that appears to be real, you see that, yes, you don't start from there. You see it. You see that sense of ownership before all these statements. So you don't get into, oh, you know, I wasn't doing this and this and this, but I'm doing this. No, you're not doing squat. Yeah. You're seeing, you're in awareness, yes? You're not in awareness, you are awareness. So you become aware of this act of claiming, and that act of claiming was described in your share. Yeah, there was a feeling that it was you that was doing that stuff. Just keep bringing the camera, go back and say, you see, you're not that. You're not going to change what you're not that much. And it's not even necessary. You just see its activities. When its activities with this understanding, you won't habitually call them your activity. Yeah. So there'll be just like the difference between a thought and my thought. It's huge. We're not saying anything about the thought. What is that feeling that precedes the thought that actually comes after the thought's claim and then seems to precede it, which is this my, yeah? Are these my thoughts? Are these is that my relation with the thoughts? No, it isn't. Yeah. Whatever that was been claimed and it's being presented like a day old fucking leftover, trying to hook you once again of being the one who's it's gonna be super difficult to get out of this. As that, yes, it will be. But if you're not in it, it's not difficult. You lose interest in getting out of it because you're not in it. That's where the freedom lies. The freedom is before the bondage. It's figuring out how to get out of the bondage. The bondage shit keeps getting presented as already so. You're before it. Yes, you're before it. So when I hear a clear description of the mental activity, and then there's that little zinger, somehow you're doing that, you're not doing the mental activity. You're seeing the mental activity, and then the mental state to be the seer that presents that you're the doer of the fucking mental activity. Yeah? So you come to it after it's been cooked like 4 times. It was nothing the way it was at first. It's been cooked and reheated and fucking. So if you start recognizing it, so here, something happens, that something that's being said implies there's a you, okay? You see that. Then you, all right, that gives you a hint. Something's afoot. Then you see something that claims to be the seer of that, and now you're getting bound there. You see that. And then after a few of seeing the system, you don't have to keep vigilance and watch it all the time. You know how it does what it does. It's a pattern, yeah? So anything that I has been cooked 4 different times, and then it's like, you're never going to get out of this. And it is a feeling that it's the real you speaking. The real you doesn't speak. It doesn't say shit. It doesn't. So basically, it came in, and then there's something, hey, how did it get that tail? That's what happened. You know, what we're talking about isn't, oh, that could possibly, I'm saying it's happening. The claiming is happening now. Every time we have a clear vision, vision gets claimed, and then we get like the dead version of the clear vision, and somehow that clear vision, which was very, very liberating, becomes another way of binding us to a freaking idea by the claiming of being the one who had the clear vision. Because what happens if you're the one who has the clear vision and then the one that had the clear vision does something stupid? What the fuck? Tons of guilt and shame. I was the one who had the clear vision. I should have known better. None of it is us. None. There's not one point you become the authentic action. There isn't. You don't have to see it 800,000 times. You see it a few times and it tells you it's on 800,000. That's what it does. You don't have to witness it. It's like someone I know had a bad relationship with someone, crazy, for a long, long time. And then sometimes she shares with the new adventure. And I said, well, you can't be surprised. I mean, this is the way it's been. Yeah. So, you know, surprised by the activity because it's inherently a pattern that you know. Yeah. So you're at a point where, yeah, I know exactly what happens. Seeing occurs, the mental state arises. Yeah. Takes that beautiful little with a light moving through it, makes it a fucking spiritual diamond, talks about having it, then a fear, I'm going to lose it, whatever, kicks in, and then the narrative taken off. You're now you're running, you know, got to protect this diamond. Nothing's being seen through it at that moment. It's been neutered, yeah, by the claiming of it. Now, the same event can happen, yeah, there can be a claiming of it, yet without your participation, yeah, it doesn't feel so, because you are what causes it to be truly in. We are the light that gets put into it. Yeah. If that light gets in the habit of being withdrawn from it, you'll see it clearly. You're not that. You have never met you, ever.
Do you think language, dualistic language, gets in the way of being stuck in self?
It can and it may not. So that's the whole point, because all this stuff that comes after is truly, it's effectively decided by what's before, and we are what's before everything. Yeah. So a person, you know, one, there's not a person, one before could use a telephone book to fucking have a story about waking up forever. Another person, 40 years of something to try to wake up. Somebody in Walmart, a toaster hits them in the head. That's happening. You can't make a path out of shit. Yeah. It's recognizing what comes after from the before instead of trying to figure out the before from what comes after. Yeah. Just see you're not that which comes after. Seeing, story about the seeing. Seeing, yeah. Story, no. Yeah. But that story sounds so, it's so good about the seeing. No. Seeing, yeah. Yeah. Yes. So it can or it cannot be, because we are not Paul, but mind, big mind dreaming. It decides if something is going to be contracting or expanding. Yeah. Just like they, you know, used to have those experiments where the people get paid to find light as particles, and then the light appears as particles. Then another team of scientists get paid to find light as waves. Then light appears as waves. It seems to dance to us as the fucking flutist, you know? We play the tune and then, oh, light appears the way we. Yeah, we're it, you know? Let's fool them. They're waiting for us to appear as waves. We'll give them some particles. What? Their whole thesis of whatever. Isn't it every few years, the whole story, everything gets blown out of the water? It's so fucking hilarious. Yeah. You can't study what's studying everything. You can't get behind. As what you are not, get behind what you are. See you are, because you're the seeing. Yeah. See, the embers don't turn into fire unless you blow on them. We're the blowing, yes? Things go out. We ignite it, yes? The ignorance, we give it meaning. We call it real. When what is real calls something real, it can seem effects. Because what is real is taking something not real to be so, right? So it can be so. You know, like the worst thing that ever happened, after a few years, you may come to the conclusion it was the best thing that ever happened. Was it the worst thing that ever happened? And then went through this incredible grinding metamorphosis to become the best thing? No, it's nothing. We gave it all the meaning it had, yeah? Was in one condition, I gave it the meaning. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I got by the cops. That pulling over by the cops leaves me over. I'm feeling so relieved. Wow, that was the best fucking thing that ever happened to me. It's not based, event is based on us, yes? Everything is. So, yeah, anyone else? Yeah, just remember, easy does it. Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Letitia. Oh, Satish. How did I get Letitia? Satish, how are you?
Okay.
See,
Yeah.
Mike said Satish. And by the time I heard it, it was Letitia. All right, Satish.
So this the mental activity, you know, the agitation of head, and that's relatively seems like easy to understand that, like and yeah, that's easy to see, but the body continues to react. I don't know how to take care of that. Body seems to be much more bodily reactions, you know. They seem to carry on in spite of whatever I tell myself. Maybe it is the thief and police story again, but I truly believe that there is no solid me. You know, it's just all a flow. But the body, you know, the suffering continues, or fear continues.
Now?
Pardon me?
Now. Is the pain and fear continuing now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You had to check it out first. There was a second there. There was, I don't know. I don't think there was any pain.
It's not happening right now, but like, you know, this morning or laying in bed.
No, we're not talking about that. We're about now. So is it more than enough that you have relief? Or Or do you want it for tomorrow morning and stuff?
So you were cutting off. What did you say?
I said, is it more than enough now to have relief, which you're in right now from the pain you had this morning? Or is the head saying, that's not enough, I want to be guaranteed that I won't have it tomorrow?
I know there is no guarantee.
Yeah, but the way you shared, I could tell that you're not happy, obviously, going through fear and pain. There's something that's not happy about it.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you're frustrated that what's happening with whatever else you're doing and coming to the talks, that it's not seemingly manifesting as relief from that fear and pain.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
and you had a hope that maybe it would, or you may have had a belief that it was going to do that, and therefore you're disappointed.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I truly believe it's a conceptual thing, but
Well, maybe that understanding is wrong. Maybe there really isn't a get out of jail free card. Maybe we're going to go through what happens as the action figure, and that we can hope for is maybe, traveling life through whatever life has in store for the body experience. Yes.
mm-hmm.
I would say you're going to be much more of a happy camper in that second camp. Yes.
Second camp of like letting it go.
Just seeing that, lower, first of all, they're not your targets, but lower the targeting and maybe start with a little gratitude instead of when the head starts thinking, oh, fuck, frustration, maybe throw a little Mickey in there, like a doctored drink of gratitude, and then start seeing, that maybe, hey, shit, it could be a whole lot worse. And yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And remember, this is what that the non-duality brings a lot of misunderstandings out of the weeds. This misunderstanding that non-duality as an intellectual idea is like the great serum or the greatest cure for everything. It isn't. It's basically brings about an acceptance for what's appearing, not a giant plan of changing everything, I feel. You just realize, hey, this is how it goes. Yeah? So this is the beauty of it. Satish took you from what you're sharing and we went into the weeds and there was a misunderstanding there. Yeah? This is why the message, this is what we just talked about earlier. This is what the understanding of non-duality brings. There was a misunderstanding that's always hiding there, and the misunderstanding is if I get into this, it's going to produce all these effects, and then you get bummed out when you wake up and the pain's still there. Yes, that was misunderstanding. It's not yours. It was just a misunderstanding. You weren't seeing it clearly. This isn't about physical nirvana. It isn't. It's not like a physical satori. Yeah? It's not. So this is the beauty of the satsangs. Knowing it or not, the message brings out the misunderstandings. Yeah, so that you can see them finally, because they're not serving you. They're not. You're not gonna. You may throw a beautiful fish in the water because it didn't give you everything you were wanting, but that big fish is fucking great. Yeah. Yeah. So I would have
what I'm
loved
hoping
it.
for is the cessation of identification. I'm not expecting things to change. but the identification part.
Well, Satish, I would hazard a guess, watching you, it has changed a lot in the last 2 years. Yeah. So what's the fear? May be, well, it's not going to change it. I would imagine it's showing its effects and they'll continue.
Mm.
Yeah. Your attitude and outlook is going to change.
Mm.
It doesn't say your physical condition is, it will or won't, but your attitude and outlook will. Yeah. And a lot of what has to do with your physical condition is your attitude and outlook about it. Seriously. I mean, most people's problems really are psychosomatic, so to speak.
Not so to speak.
Exactly. They come up there and then they're reinforced by these misunderstandings. Yeah. There's no acceptance of a thing that you immediately wish to be different. There's got to be, you have to have, things have their 5 minutes on the stage. You're not going to rush them off. Shit happens and yeah, it comes up and you got to, it's a terrible dance. Yeah, but it's going to do it. I mean, that's what, if you keep trying to rush it up, it keeps trying to get back on. Give it its 5 minutes and see what happens. Yeah, yeah. But again, when you've got to watch the head, because when progress occurs, it will be begrudgingly at best willing to pay attention to that. It's got a story of something and it likes to keep that story going. Yeah. Even though it's sort of like trying to wear the same old shoes after your foot grew. You know what I mean? You get the same, your foot's bigger. You need a new pair. Your life's going to be bigger. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's normal for us to pay a lot more attention to what we worry about and think is wrong in the world than what we see as true. It's just actually speaking of our body is made like that.
Yes, it's so.
It's the tiger that you don't pay attention to, you know, eat it.
Yeah.
But it's not real. It's just as real to say we have as many happy moments as we can sad, but we don't attend to them as
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, well, Satish, I've seen you change. Yeah. And I hope you and I will keep changing together.
Yeah.
But you know, look at Ramana. He died of throat cancer, I think. Nisargadatta Maharaj, throat cancer. I don't know if both were. And they, I'm sure the access of power they could have accessed could have made things different, but they basically went along with the fucking plan, seems like, yeah.
Don't forget Jesus being crucified.
Yeah, so who knows? So, you know, I have a lot of familiarity with pain, physical pain. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've had a lot of physical pain, and you don't win if you argue with what is. Even, you know, if it is what is now, it's best not to get into an argument with it. Yeah, I had an effect from 38 years ago that affects me every day, all day, in some way or another. Yeah, the best time I have as a body is when I wake up in the morning, because there's a body awareness, but there's not the body's experience, and I can sort of an hour or two yet aware as a body, where most of running around and walking and stuff has a different experience. Yeah, because the body doesn't work. It's not, it's chapped, broken and bent. Yeah, it doesn't the way it used to.
You froze up. Thank you, Paul.
I'm not coming up. Hold on.
You're up. You're up.
I am? All right, let me say goodbye to them. Let me go through Zen bitch stuff.
Also, Tom with his hand up.
All right, we'll do one more with Tom. Yeah. All right, I need to have some beverages.
Hey, Paul.
Hold on, I'm coming out here. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. I only got introduced to you about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's been an interesting journey so far. Pretty good. Listen, I got a question for you because I've been thinking about this.
Oh, keep
And
it like
I was thinking, funny enough, the same thing this afternoon about wave particle duality. That just made me giggle. But listen, so I think when I came into this world, yeah, I'm a little baby and I don't know anything, yeah? And I think at some point when I was taught language, that's when something must have cleaved in my body or in my brain or in my mind. And at that point, I'm trying to make sense of the world, create my own narrative. I understand a little bit about I want stuff because I'm hungry. And then as I get older, I can make a narrative about the future, kind of go back to the past. And, you know, and then life evolves. And for what I understand at that point, kind of dualism has kicked in, good and proper. But now, if I can somehow magically subtract the language which I learned, then what's left? Well, then it's just the pure me, right?
Well, it's not left. It's been there. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the good news. This is the real good news. Nothing ever really happened to the basis. We're all awake. You're usually in the event of thinking you're not, or sometimes you're seemingly awake to the idea you're awake, or you're seemingly asleep to the idea of you're awake, but we're awake. Yeah, that's the fact.
Okay.
Yeah, and then what happens is when the head surrounds that fact with a lot of misunderstandings, we make it something else. Yeah, and we believe that it would mean if I'm awake, everything would be great. I would never feel anything else or whatever. And then these things are used by the head to sort of negate, or deny the fact of the awakeness. Yeah, it's so like the cloud saying, just because I'm appearing in the sky, it's not all sky. Yeah, no, it's all sky with an appearance of cloud. Yeah, but we see it from the cloud, and I'm taking up some of that space. Yeah, so basically, sky isn't the infinite space. I'm here. Yeah, there's like a 40 by 25 me. So all that understanding is all fucked. That's the beauty of non-duality. Sit with it, and it's going to bring the shit out of the weeds.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff that our whole take is based on doesn't come up to the level of knowing it. Yeah, that's what the beauty of non-duality. It has the ability to pull out the misunderstandings and bring them into the light. Now you can sleep through that and have, claim it and keep, standing in that fucking defensive posture, or you can just recognize the fallacy of those misunderstandings, and there you go. There's the value in it. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. See, in a weird way here, you arrive at where you already are by the negation of something else. Yeah. Because it's like 2 can't jump to 0. Yeah. We've got to sort of negate the 2 as a false 1, and then there's 0 for some reason. Yeah. It would be nice if we could just exactly as we are now, jump into zero, but then it would be as if there was no zero until I arrived there. In fact, we negate something, there's a negation of something, and then the apparent journey is canceled and you already are what you're looking for. Yeah?
Yeah.
But
I guess
not,
that's
you
right.
haven't spent any time trying to convince what you're not of that fact. You bypass that through negation and you arrive on having never left. That's the whole point. Yeah?
So you can't do the activity of subtraction because it doesn't work that way.
No, see, if you do the activity of subtraction, it's adding on to the doer of the activity.
Yeah, yeah.
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 But there is a negation, but it's not an identified negation. It's not of someone doing it. Yeah. There's just a negation. That's all. Yeah. And so you go around the conundrum of lose interest in self as self. Yeah. When the whole basis is a loss of interest. So how is that fucking going to work? This is how it works. You negate the idea of that which believes I have to lose interest in something for there to be a loss of interest in it. No, there's a losing of interest in that someone. That's it. Yeah. The someone is not losing interest. There's a losing interest in the someone. That works. Yeah. That's the message.
Have you ever seen that kind of, you get a piece of paper and you draw a line on it and you say, well, you know, I go from here and I want to go there. And then I can't remember, but there's also the theory of the wormhole. Actually, you're not going anywhere because you can fold the paper around so the lines connect.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Everything here is sort of precarious.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm not a scientist. All I wanted was a relief from the bondage of self. I was missing something which was self. So self was in the business of seeking the relief from the bondage of self, which was an extreme bondage of self. But once I was convinced of that mistake happens over and over and over, yet to make that mistake. But the head does mistake over and over and over, but I am not the head. So mistake away, it doesn't matter. Actually, it's valuable because he keeps showing me what I'm not. Yeah. It's actually full service because it just keeps showing you what you're not. Yeah. All right, I gotta get going, I think.
Okay.
Is that all right? Hey,
That's
keep
great,
coming
thank
back,
you.
my friend.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, let's say goodbye. I got I'm in 3 screens. This one, that one. Yeah, let's see if this works. Hold on. Do the infinite. Wait a minute, I'm losing it. Oh, this way. Wow, there's a lot of them there.
Now you're something ball.
I hold it in my hands. My hands. Hey, let me, shall we say goodbye? Oh, let me go here. All right, folks, let me, Anu, as always, nice to see you. Yes.
Oh.
Thank you for putting up with my little, yeah.
You're gonna tell people to donate?
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, please. Oh, no, this is for you, your room. Yeah, yeah, please donate. I gotta tell these people, they always like to leave before they put out any cash.
Yeah, that's not right.
Tommy, nice to see you. Alex, nice to see you. Roman, always a pleasure. Ariane, nice to have you today. Nice to see you. Johannes, as always, yes. Andrew, remember, Rule 62. Let's not take ourselves too seriously. Yeah? Yeah, good. Mike Savini, nice to see you, Mike. Let's see. Oh, there's Tariq from Dover, New Jersey. Nice to see you, Tariq, as always. We got Kaylin from Romania. Nice to see you. Richard, I don't know what's been going on with Richard. I get these cryptic statements from Richard. He looks fine. Yeah. Nice to see you, Richard. Say hello to Etta. We got Geraldine. There you are, Geraldine. Nice to see you. Where are you from, Geraldine?
I'm in Brussels. I'm from Belgium.
Oh, from Belgium. Yes, nice to have a Belgiumite over here.
Nice to be with you.
We got Jacob from, always a pleasure, Jacob. Glenda O'Driscoll, there she is. Glenda's with us since the beginning, I think, eh? The beginning of Zoom. Should be BZ and AZ. Before Zoom, after Zoom. It's always the same. We got Craig May. Nice to see you, Craig. A long time distant admirer. It's Nanette, what's you're catching a lot of dreams in there, Nanette. Yeah. Oh, there's Z, Zlatko.
Hey,
I'm
Paul.
gonna call you. I'm getting the water, Z. I don't know if I'll be successful. I'll call you later.
Okay.
Chris, nice to see you, Chris. Yeah. We've got Ben Clark. He's sort of semi-prone. There he is. We got Elvan. Nice to see you, Elvan. Yes.
Oh,
We got Mickey from Madeira. David B. I befriended you, David, on Facebook. Yeah. Don't let it go to your head. Lisa, Tom, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Sue, Kay, Elaine, Deborah. We have a lot of folks today.